One of the most frequent asked questions I get from customers, foundation companies, home inspectors, and realtors is, where's the clean outs? What is a clean out? I have a clean out, but it may not be what you're looking for. So what we are looking for on clean outs, the average house, if it has a toilet in the house, which would be a homestead, is going to have a minimum of a 3-inch pipe. There won't be anything smaller than a 3-inch pipe. Could be a 4-inch pipe. Most houses, 3 to 4-inch pipe. This pipe is going to be within 12 to 18 inches average from the house. Normally they're in the front yard. If there's an alley in the back of the house, sometimes they're in the back. If it's a corner house, it could be the front, the side, the back, but you'll have a pipe coming up through the slab, through the dirt next to the slab. That'll be the access point we've discussed that will have access to the drain system. Now, cleanouts can have a rubber gasket, black top, which is a gem cap. It could have a cast iron rusty looking metal top with a brass plug in it. It could have a wing plug, which are red, white, or black PVC with a stainless steel wing plug inside of plastic or inside of a cast iron. Could just be an open hole. I've seen them underneath bricks. I've seen buckets over them. I've seen coffee cans over them. If you're not aware of where your clean out is, doesn't mean you don't have one. Over the years, since they're so close to the house, they get buried with mulch and flower bed and vegetation, and people excavate. If there is vegetation literally growing over the clean out, then that vegetation will have to be removed. I have seen trees literally planted on top. There were bushes turned into trees planted on clean outs. I've seen rose bushes that are completely encased in the clean outs. I personally am not going to go in your rose garden, but I am going to ask that you remove or prune back to the point where we can access those clean outs. There are clean outs on the walls. You see a PVC clean out, an old cast iron clean out, or a gem cap. Any kind of clean out on a wall is a clean out to access whatever's on the other side of that wall. Normal houses have a clean out for the kitchen. Sometimes they have them for the bathroom. Sometimes they'll have an end of the line clean out. Any clean out on the wall is not the clean out we are looking for to do a hydrostatic test. The third clean out, which is not a clean out we are looking for, would be called a city clean out. Very popular in Dallas. There's some in Plano. Most of Dallas County, it's required now, but there'll be a clean out at the street. It could be in the sidewalk if it's the city of Dallas. It could be next to the sidewalk. It could be anywhere out in your yard. That is not the clean out we are looking for, because if I test from that clean out, if it's an actual city clean out, which is not round, it's more oval and actually says clean out on it, usually has 2 bolts, that has a gasket. That gasket will never hold a water test. So it's pretty much any testing done from that clean out is going to be a leak. But it's not going to tell me if there's a leak on your foundation, in the yard. It's not going to tell me anything. So we don't test from those cleanouts. Now, if you have a city cleanout installed by a plumber that's glued, sealed, it's great. There's nothing leaking on the cleanout, and it fails. I won't be able to tell you if it's the yard line that failed or the house that failed. You need to be able to determine between the two. So we need a cleanout that's up by the house. Typically, if it's in the front of the house, it'll be lined up with the closest bathroom to the front of the house. One of the major rule of thumbs is we usually bring the water line in by the drain system. So if you have a front water spigot where you hook a water hose up to, that is typically going to be somewhere within 2 feet of that faucet is normally going to be where the main drain clean out comes in. Or if you know there's a valve box to shut off your main water for your house, not out the street, the meter box, but an actual valve box up at the house, sometimes within 12 to 18 inches of that valve box also could be the clean outs. Now this is not there's no handbook where to put clean outs for plumbers. It's typically least resistance. We bring the plumbing system out, the least amount of fittings, the least resistance on flow, the least turns, but where it exits the house, we're looking for clean outs coming up out of the ground.